Hi, I'm Ron Johnson, my wife Cindy, and this is our property in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Well, they're basically just landscape timbers for uprights and treated 2x4s, and then we use a fiberglass for the roofing and for the base, and a vinyl coated 1-inch poultry netting for the sides and tops.
And 2-foot buried wire.
So
It comes out.
You bring it out this way, or
Yeah.
How's that hold up for
This way.
snow?
pretty well. I mean, there's been a couple snowstorms that have been wet where we've had this much snow on top where we've had to go in and knock it off, and I mean that's a real pain. But
what do you do? Yeah.
yeah, I mean I don't like 2-inch because then you get sparrows and starlings in, and so I just used the 1-inch.
So how much snow do you get down here?
It's really variable. I mean, we'll several inches at a time, up to
Yeah.
1.5 feet.
Oh, it's
2
like,
feet.
it's like where we live up in New York.
Landscape shade cloth, and I use it for a wind protection, and it also gives them a visual barrier protection for anything that may be running or walking alongside, and gives them a little bit more security in their own pen. Anytime you can give birds an area where they feel more secure, it's better for them.
What did it take you, like a year to get this whole thing done?
Well, we did this section, the main section here, you kind of see where the doors come in. And then a year later, we did this section, and then we did the first section last year. These are Goldens, this year's Goldens from those.
So what'd you have before this?
I've got pens over here that I use for young birds. This pen design is such that there's a hallway that's 6 feet wide down the middle, and then we have on each side 4 feet into the pens that give it a good overhang for snow and rain. And we feed in the back part here where we use actually juice containers that we cut a hole in that make a pretty simple feeder. Pens are 4 feet wide and 22 feet long. And normally they're empty in the wintertime. We let the grass grow up and we put in conifer Christmas trees in the wintertime for hiding places. And the breeding pens are mostly 8 by 22, and so they're double that size. The ones on the other end are a little bit bigger, 10 by 22.
This aviary is amazing because it's the birds are calm the way it's set
Yeah.
up. It's nice. And he's got like a double door entry in here.
Yeah. I feed it's called Kalmbach. It's a game bird feed manufactured in Ohio, and comes in a small pellet. And then I add a kibble that's made mostly out of animal protein, so it brings the protein level up about 29%. And I feed about 1/10 of that into my mix. And I also feed craisins and raisins that are soaked in red cell, so I can make sure I get a good vitamin mix into it. And I feed in the springtime dried mealworms, because a lot of the pheasant species that I have here are insectivorous, particularly in the spring when they're hatching young. And so between the combination of that, mix it all up. Plus we put eggshell in the spring or grit in the rest of the year. And then in the wintertime, about this time of year, November, I'll switch over, take the higher protein out, no more mealworms, no more kibble, and I'll replace it with a wild bird seed. So they're getting the higher energy, higher carbohydrates for the wintertime, and safflower seed. Here's a supplement I just started using. It's made by Alltech, and it's based with yeast, and they denature the yeast and do some things to it, but it's supposed to help for coccidia, preventive, and it acts almost like a probiotic in that instead of feeding them medications, you use this and it prevents stuff. So. Nest boxes that are made out of cedar. Sometimes we put them on the ground, hidden underneath shrubbery, and sometimes we elevate them. And it depends upon the species and sometimes particular individual pairs, whether they use them or not. And sometimes they'll just dump the eggs out in the mud anyway.
Yeah.
What a pain in the butt, birds.
Yeah.
Kelly had some a couple years ago.
They weren't gonna. They're not gonna do that with you.
No, they're not even a pheasant. Really, they're more of a grouse, I think. Aren't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah.
Look at how small their feet
Spurfowl,
are.
isn't
Even. Yeah.
No, they're
yeah.
large
I think,
feet. Really
I
large.
think grouse.
feet.
What
Yeah.
are they closely related to grouse or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And these 3 pens I put in for either grouse or cochless. And I dug the soil out, put in drain tile, put gravel down, put 6 inches of sand over, put a vapor barrier down, and everything. And it's still, we have to medicate them. And won't be breeders till this spring.
Did you vaccinate for West Nile?
I have not. The only reason I haven't is I haven't been able to find anybody that can give me the dosage. Because you have to.
vial.
One vial?
One vial per bird.
Oh, okay. But isn't it a horse?
It's a horse, but it works.
But you give a whole dosage, you give a horse?
Yep.
Wow.
There-
See, I've heard that
there's been
before,
some-
but I just didn't.
There's been some small research done on it, and like with the rough grouse in Pennsylvania, for example,
Yeah.
they found that if you vaccinate them, 90% of the birds will live through a West Nile outbreak. In other words, they can
Right,
still
right.
get it,
Yep.
but if you don't vaccinate, 90% die.
Pass.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's not even sustainable in the wild. If
Yeah.
the wild birds get West
Right.
Nile, they're going to lose populations.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's actually expensive. It's like $26 a vial. But it's definitely
$26 per bird. Now, is that a yearly?
yeah. But I mean, you weigh the the benefits of it. And
Yeah.
you know, you got a bird that's I don't know what they're worth. 800. They got to be worth $800.
600, 800
You
bucks.
can't even find them around. So I mean,
Yeah. Pair of blue ears. This is the pair that she
lays in the water.
lays in the water.
I had a pair once, and they would just dig holes.
Yeah.
And then bury the eggs.
Right, bury it. So it's always like an Easter egg hunt.
Yeah.
Always. It's like, okay.
And then the season, I'm like, you know, this first year I had them, I'm like, I didn't get any eggs out of these things. And then I'm doing some pawing out, like, man, there's like 20 eggs.
Yeah. And this is the old breeding pair of Elliots. And this is a male that sits on eggs. The one picture I showed today was him in the nest box here.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Except he doesn't know what to do with the kids when they hatch, and he won't let the hens sit. And so when he decides he's going to sit, he sits. But then when they hatch, he goes, I don't know what to do with these things. And
You take care of them now.
She looks at him and goes, you sit on them. You do something with them.
It's like, you started it, so you
So
finish it.
I have to pull them when they hatch because they. I raised over 25 Elliots this year.
Wow.
You don't have like hollow logs or anything for them to run into, or tables? Or do you
We
have.
normally in the wintertime then get Christmas trees.
But you don't, they don't, you don't have the males pounding the females?
I've got one pair here and I've got blinders on him.
Pounders?
Yeah.
You think they do a lot of good?
Yeah, they do. They prevent.
Because I've tried them with jungle. You have problems with jungle fowl, with them picking each other?
No, because they can't hardly find each other. My pins look like somebody dumped a landfill with brush in them. It's like, everybody's like, you ought to clear that out. I'm like, why?
So, well, like young birds, if you combine the ages on those
Oh,
jungle fowl.
probably, I don't, yeah, that probably happens.
So I actually tried to use the blinders on them, and it doesn't.
Don't
It
do
doesn't
anything?
do anything.
I
It
try not
seemed
to
like it at
mix
first, but
ages.
then it didn't. Yeah, that's the thing is,
Yeah.
even if they're 3 days apart, you can't mix them.
Right.
See, I've got
Yeah.
blinders on this Mikado male. He's just.
What is that? Just like a fiberglass?
Yeah, it's like fiberglass.